Thank you, everyone, and welcome. As I just said, this is our first ever information session that Youth Solutions has done, empowering educators, building comprehensive career development programs. I really want to thank you on behalf of the whole team for your time and interest in Youth Solutions today. I know everyone's busy, especially December seems to be a crazy month, and so thank you for taking time to join us today. I am Roger Curtis. I am the executive director of Youth Solutions. I've been associated with Youth Solutions since around 2016 when I was director of talent and economic development for the state of Michigan. It was TED, which is now Leo. I've been on the Youth Solutions board for several years, I was actually a consultant for a period of time and was blessed and privileged to have the opportunity to become the executive director in September of last year. So super excited to be here. Also with me today from our team is Donna Rummel. She is our Senior Manager of Innovation at Youth Solutions. So appreciate her being with us. And we have some very special guests today as well. So I'd like to introduce them very quickly. We have, and this is someone that I got to know when I was at TED and worked with her and have stayed in touch with her and consider her a very good friend, Michelle Radcliffe, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Career Development at Livingston ESA and also the incoming president of the MIACTE. So, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Roger. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We're also joined by Director of Career Awareness and Exploration at KRESA, a great partner of ours, Jason Luke. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Roger. Hello, everyone.
And then also Dr. Lindsay Newton, Superintendent of Galesburg, Augusta Community Schools. Dr. Newton, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your time too, not only with the webinar today, but also all that you're doing with us in our partnership as we work with you and some of the services that we provide. I do want to start with the three of you. If you could briefly share kind of how you got engaged with Youth Solutions or why you got engaged with Youth Solutions. And Michelle, we'll start with you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Just a little bit about Livingston. So we're a 5-district county in Michigan, and we do not have a CT center. We act as a consortium. So I do oversee our career development and CT programs there. We got in touch with Youth Solutions really because of our counselors and because of my career and college readiness coordinator, Laura Celine. They saw it. They're the ones that were interested in this, brought it to my attention and said, hey, we have this opportunity to investigate what we're doing for career exploration and development. And this is a great, I'll say, little audit and current snapshot of what we have. And since then, that district was Pinckney High School, Pinckney Community Schools. They've presented with our other counselors, and now we have Howell Public Schools, which is a very large school district, looking at K-12 models and getting involved with Youth Solutions that way. So it's been very helpful in creating that snapshot and looking at where we have gaps and then how to help them fill them.
Cool. Thanks, Michelle. Jason, can you share a little bit?
Sure. In Kalamazoo County, we passed the millage for CTE in 2019, which allowed us to hire 5 career development consultants. So grateful because we believe in that work. With that, though, one of the noticings and one of the strategic things that we were trying to avoid was just random acts of career development with our local districts. And so we wanted a K-12 system and plan, and we built a kind of continuum. But in past work with Donna Rummel, where she was a curriculum director, and both of us desired relevancy and education and change, that's where she brought forth, the Youth Solutions kind of foundation was Select model, which was a system. And that's something that we felt would be very effective for our districts, especially, and you're going to hear from Lindsay in a second, those who really were hungry to find, make their curriculum meaningful and to engage staff with career development and help young people recognize the meaning of the content that they're learning and put some context to it.
That's great. I wrote down random acts of career development. That's a great quote. Like that. All right, Lindsay, we'll go to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm at Galesburg Augusta Community Schools. It is part of KRESA, Kalamazoo County. We have about 1,000-ish, just shy of 1,000 kids in district. About 2 years ago, I was hired as the high school principal, and I came in with a brand new office staff and no counselor. And so as I'm sitting at the table and thinking of like, okay, we have all these goals such as attendance and graduation rates and career development, I was like, where do we go? And Jason came to the table, and Youth Solutions Select at the time. And it was just an answer to a need that I had. And so I really leaned on them in learning in the high school position, but then also what we could do in partnership with KRESA and Youth Solutions to be able to bring in some structure around career development in our district. We were really able to grasp that at the high school level, and now we're weaning it down to our middle school. And like Jason said, we had pieces and pockets, but nothing was sustainable and meaningful. So we're getting to that point, and we're lifted off. So very grateful for the supports from everyone.
That's great. Thank you, Lindsay, Jason, Michelle. We'll get back to you in a few minutes. Appreciate that overview. I'm going to continue the overview and just share a little bit about Youth Solutions in case those of you have not heard of us. We believe that education can and must transform so that every Michigan youth has access to high quality career focused education, is able to explore diverse pathways, and graduates high school with the essential skills and an actionable plan for that post secondary pathway success. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We've grown from one single program. Many of you have probably heard of Jobs for Michigan's Graduates. That was our initial program and service. We're now statewide, multi-tiered system of services that provides that innovative career development solutions to schools and youth serving organizations across Michigan. When we started in 2008, it was at Benton Harbor High School. We had 76 youth in JMG. We now have grown to include foundations and connecting careers to the core. We'll spend most of our time on those two services today. If we have time, we'll get to JMG, but we'll focus on the others. Last year, we impacted 12,855 youth in 141 programs with the help of 150 partners in 86 cities across Michigan. Now, specific to Jobs for Michigan's Graduates, we've been doing that for 15 years statewide, and we have some great data-driven outcomes. 98% graduation rate for our youth, 58%, which is higher than the state average, going on to continue their post-secondary education. And what's great about this and amazing is 80% of those youth are economically disadvantaged, and 75% are potential first-generation college students. I do want to share, like, why does Youth Solutions exist? I want to share some data that we pulled for you. These are survey results from some high school students to illustrate that need. It's just some very scary feedback, and I just want to read this to you. And this is just there was a whole series of data points in this survey that we looked at. 75% feel only moderately to slightly or not at all prepared for their post-secondary pathway.
Hey, did you do it yet? And I just slept.
Only 25% reported that their schools regularly expose them to a variety of career options, and 80% said that they would feel more engaged in school if they understood what they were learning applied to potential careers. And I'm excited that Youth Solutions addresses all of these. But you know, we've had decades of studies, which I've actually been a part of some. We've had amazing hard work by countless educators who I so greatly and sincerely appreciate. We've had the investment and implementation of numerous initiatives, which I've actually been part of some of those too. And we all have the very best intentions, and we still seemingly can't solve this issue. And I heard another quote the other day that I really loved: youth can't be what they can't see. The talent gap is still there. It's existed for years, for decades. The career awareness gap, pathways gap, skills gap, they're all still there. And that's why Youth Solutions exist, to help close those gaps. We are all about career-focused education. If you could go, there you go, thank you. Yes, graduation rates are how all of you are measured. I know that it's a critical metric. I get it, but that metric does not address the larger picture. Are students prepared for pathways after graduation? Integrating career-focused education in a meaningful way can close that skills and talent gap. You all know that. And we are focused on helping educators deliver that career-focused education that focuses on the exploration, matching aptitudes and interest, making the connection between the content, the transferable skill, the why, the career, and having an actionable plan for all students as they graduate. One point I just want to make before we move on very quickly. When we say all students in all pathways, we do mean that. Career-focused education is all those pathways. It is 4-year, 2-year school. It is credentials, certificates, pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeships, military, perhaps going directly into the workforce. I just know some people immediately when they hear career-focused education, and you probably have experienced this as well, they think, oh, entry-level job or exclusively career tech ed. No, it's all pathways, all careers. And we believe in that as well. So as I mentioned, we've kind of evolved over these 15 years. We now support career-focused education in a multitude of ways, and we've developed this multi-tiered system of services. They're customized. I think they're very innovative career development solutions to schools. It's from the most foundational to the most intensive. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to focus really on foundations and connecting careers to the core today. If we do have time at the end, I'll touch a little bit on JMG in case there are people who have questions about that. But for now, I'll turn it over to Donna to get us going on foundations.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Yeah, one of the things I want to first talk about before we get to foundations is really the Michigan Career Development Model and what's changing. So the Michigan MDE has been working on a relaunch of the career development model, and they tried really hard not to make a ton of changes. And I know this is ready for relaunch. We're waiting on pins and needles for the actual launch, but it should be happening anytime now. But the biggest differences are a couple things. They added pre-K and post-secondary to the model, which is, I think, probably the largest change. But then there's also this target 2, which was always there. It used to be called, what was it? Academic, relevancy, something to that effect. And it wasn't really spelled out that it was meant to be in all core classes. Now the new target, academic connections, specifically calls out and says this needs to be embedded in all classes and also at all grade levels. So that's going to be a new thing that's coming down the pike, and we're trying to be prepared to help all of our schools deal with this as it comes along. So through that, and because of the career development model right from the beginning, when we developed, oh, thanks, Gretchen, contextualized academics. Appreciate that. I couldn't think of it. We developed something called foundations. So as Roger said, we started with Jobs for Michigan's graduates, but we didn't name ourselves U Solutions on accident. We could have named ourselves Jobs for Michigan's graduates and stuck with that single program. But our board of directors said, you know what, we really want to do more. We want to impact more kids. We know this is great. And of course, for elective credit and doing, small group work is wonderful, but it's not hitting all kids. And how can we support all kids, because everybody needs this? And yet it's not necessarily possible for all kids to be able to take a course for elective credit or do after school programming or do pull out or push in. So how can we help all kids? And so that's when we came on board. So Gretchen and I, if anyone knows Gretchen Panacucci, she's fantastic. She helped create U Solutions Foundations. And this is that systems approach that Jason and our guests were talking about at the beginning. And really, this is a way to go into a school and say, how can we create a sustainable program that exists after our champions leave? Because it's great when we start new initiatives in school. And when we have this as educators, we start an initiative, everybody's very excited about it. You get a consultant that comes in, teaches you a whole bunch of stuff. And then we go for a year and everyone's excited about it. But then next year we have some staff turnover, maybe the next year the principal changes, and then no one remembers what it was that we were doing to begin with. So how do we avoid that from happening? And so our solution to that was, well, it really needs to be part of the system. And it has to be a system that really addresses not only the career development model, but it builds a culture of career development. And that goes beyond the what. And just like Jason said with random acts of career development, and we do lots of good whats for kids, but we don't necessarily look at the system and all the other pieces that are necessary to not only make sure that it's sustainable, but it's equitable. Because when we do these great things, oftentimes they're opt-in for kids. And so all kids don't even A, know they need to opt in, or B, can't opt in for a variety of barriers, whether they're credit deficient and they can't get out of classwork to go do field trips, or they can't go do. Those are great activities, but again, how do we make sure it's equitable and addresses all students? So what we've developed and what we've been working on, and we're in 17 schools, about to be 19 schools across the state. We help them support developing this career development program for their schools. Again, it's a systems approach. It's 5 phases. But one of the other key components is we want to do ongoing support. This isn't something we want to just walk away from. We want to help our schools so that it doesn't become this initiative that falls to the wayside. So how does it work? And phase 1, we start with a robust assessment. And I think Michelle talked really well about that. We go in and really look at what's happening, what's working, and then what enhancements can be made, because everyone is working on something in this world. But how can we take what's working well, assess it, that it is working well, and build from there? So phase 1 is this robust needs assessment. We do stakeholder surveys with our student, staff, and families, and we look at what is their perception of how things are working. We do a self-evaluation with the staff that we're working with, and then everything ties together and is very data oriented to tell us whether or not we're making progress as we look at these assessments over time. So once we go through phase 1, we do a site visit, we do surveys, and our post-secondary workforce readiness inventory, and we look at all of that data and we create an executive report for schools that says, okay, what's working really well, what are areas of growth, and then what are some recommendations that we have that can help moving forward. And after we get through that phase, we do our goal setting. And that's really the shortest phase of what we do. We sit down and this is all aligned to the MyKIP process. We're very intentional as former educators, recognizing that schools need to check boxes, but we just don't want it to be just a box, but we want to make sure that we're taking that off the plate of the schools so that they know that we're supporting the work that they are required to do while also doing what's best for kids. And so that goal setting phase is really focused around the MyKIP. So everything we do can be copy and pasted right into the MyKIP platform. In fact, we are in the strategy bank. So our services can be selected from the strategy bank right in MyKIP. And once we get the goal setting done, then we move into that program development. And then we really start focusing on the what and then the how. So that's program development. This is our longest phase. And that is a series of consultant visits with Gretchen and her team. And once they get through that program development, that usually takes between a semester and a year to do the program development, then phase 4 is that implementation. And this is when we really start working with schools to, okay, and we want to make sure we have this evaluation plan in place so that we can see the growth over time. And then by the time we get to phase 5, which is a place we haven't been yet, and we're about to with a couple of schools, I think our first school is ready to go into that phase, is the legacy school phase. And that's where they're connected to the network, making sure that they're getting resources from us when they need it. They can come back to us and ask for more supports. But they also can be connected to the larger network that we've developed so that we can use best practices across the state. So what is the commitment of the school? And the first commitment is we ask is you need to create a career leadership council. That means it's a team at the school level. Oftentimes it's a school improvement team in the smaller schools, but really in some schools we've worked with have had a team already working on this. So that's always a great win for us. But to establish a team that usually consists of teachers, counselors, administrators, we like to see 5 to 6 people. As soon as it gets larger, then that becomes problematic just in terms of logistics. But we really then dive deep with this Career Leadership Council to do the work. So then once we get the Career Leadership Council, we do our launch. It's the kickoff. It's a 3-hour meeting. Then we do a full day site visit and we come and actually do, interviews with the stakeholders on site, which gathers information you can't get from a multiple choice survey. And then there's a 1-hour goal setting session, or maybe 2-hour goal setting session, I should say. So that goal setting session really focuses on the MyKIP, again, trying to help check boxes. Then we do ongoing collaboration, regular check-ins, and this doesn't have to be with the whole Career Leadership Council. This can be with just the key players or the leaders of the initiative to make sure that we're supporting the work, helping them work through. We develop a career development handbook or a career development program handbook for all the schools, so they have something that's a written process and procedure that they could then take to the board and have it adopted as this is just how we do business, because we want to make sure that again it becomes part of the system, something that we do beyond us, so that when we leave, when the champions are gone, this continues. And then the other commitment is really the data collection reporting. So we want those surveys to be given every year so that we can be looking at growth. We know that we're seeing growth from our initial surveys when we've gotten our second round in. And so again, not unexpected that we would change perceptions, but as we change perceptions, we also track student outcome data. And so in terms of is our CTE increasing? Do we have more participation there? Are more kids going off to post-secondary? What's happening with our graduation rate? What about our attendance and our behavior pearls? What is it that doing this work impacts? Because research has shown that this is really important, but how can we show that it also impacts student outcomes? Our partners right now, we're with Calhoun, Livingston, K-RISA, West Shore, and Saginaw ISD. We're also working with Oakland in a slightly different capacity, and Eaton RISA. So these are the places we're currently at. We're also about to launch with Barry and RISA. So we're really trying to get as many folks on board to support. We love working with the ISDs and RISAs. And it goes back to what Jason said, they passed a bond. They had the ability to have folks working specifically on this. A lot of locals, districts don't have the capacity to have people that are dedicated to this work, but oftentimes the ISDs and RISAs do. And so our partnership usually lives with the ISD and RISA, and in partnership with them, then we can provide the service. Because really, we've been providing this service with 3 people, and largely Gretchen Panacucci and her partner, Billy Bosquez, and they've been doing just wonderful work, but they're 2 people, right? And so we can't be on the ground everywhere all the time, but when we can partner and we can work through our partnerships, we can provide a much more robust service. In terms of some of our outcomes, Shelby was our very first school, and as you can see that, just from our initial resurvey of our students and staff, we can see improvements right away. 62% of students didn't know what courses they needed to take to achieve their career goals when we started, and now 81% do. Staff, 73% knew what courses they needed to take, students needed to take in order to graduate. If they don't know how to help kids and what's required, that's a missed opportunity and a resource. Now 93% feel confident in that. 66% of the students who felt they had someone at school to turn for planning has now increased to 75%. And so we know that, every year this should increase, but then long-term outcomes should also increase over time. But we also know that new initiatives take 3 to 5 years to see any kind of growth in those regions. So it's really awesome to look at the perception surveys, because these should lead to long-term outcomes. And we're really excited to collect this data and be able to prove that this stuff is important and that it works. Now, from foundations and our work with foundations, we realized that to be equitable, and with all the schools, we found that this just was a common issue. We went through the MyKIP process, and we did root cause analysis. What is the root cause of this? And there was just an aha moment that we all had, and it was, the root cause is going to be the same just about for everybody, because the root cause is that we just haven't prioritized this. It isn't in our metrics. We're not being measured on where the kids go after they leave us. We're being measured on, are they being successful when we have them, and then we get them off to next. So without those being metrics and nothing we focused on, it's no wonder that it hasn't been more prioritized. And so to create an equitable system, when we went down this road, it was, well, it has to live in the core classes. It is the only place that all kids go. And so if it's the only place that we have all kids for sure, where we have them as a captive audience, it has to live in the core. So we created a professional development called Connecting Careers to the Core to really support this work, so that we can not only tell teachers that, as the new Michigan Career Development Model does, that you have to do this in all classes, but they just don't tell us how to do it. So we wanted to provide that resource that says, we can teach you how to get this work done. What does it do? It equips educators with strategies to integrate into their lessons. We are not asking or hoping or trying to even develop a full curriculum that changes everything that we do, because we can't keep asking educators to just dump everything they've done and start over. This needs to be something that they can enhance their current lessons. This has to be helping them to do more and to take what they're doing and making it just a little bit deeper. But we make sure it links to the academic students' career interests, their academics to their career interests. And then we really focus on this idea of transferable skills and skill-centric teaching in a very highly interactive way. So what does that look like? Really, we start with the concept, and we talk to our teachers about, particularly at the high school level, we are very, very content focused. It's what we were taught. It's how we were taught to deliver. Content is important, and that's great. However, I can teach a kid a whole bunch of content, and the next year I go talk to them and they don't necessarily remember any of the content. So what is it that we're really hoping they get from the content? And the realization that we had as we were developing this is it's really the skill. It's the skill that's important, not necessarily just the content. The content is great, particularly at the high school level. We're really talking about exposing kids and helping them find their spark. What is it that they want to do? Not every kid is going to be a chemist, and that's okay. We can't have all chemists, right? I was an ELA teacher. And not all kids really like ELA, and that's just a reality. But all kids need the skills that I'm helping them. And so I know I used to spend a lot of time, teaching the content and trying to figure out, I was expected to teach Shakespeare for a long period of time, and I would spend 9 weeks trying to help them grasp Shakespeare. But what is the skill I'm teaching them? And I realized it was decoding. Decoding is really, and this is a valuable skill. Now, I now can look back and evaluate, was that a valuable use of our time? And if it was, do they even know they were learning decoding? So what we ask our educators to do is say, okay, let's take a step back, and can we use the content to teach the skill with intent and have the students know that the skill is actually what they're learning? So I asked kids to do presentations to prove they're learning all the time, but I never taught them how to present. But that presentation skill is the thing they're going to take with them, not necessarily the content of the novel that we were going through. So it's really just trying to flip that focus. We do it through transferable skills and talk to teachers. If you could focus on the skill, and oftentimes your standard really names that skill and what it should be already. And so how can you take that skill and make it the skill the focus as opposed to the content, while still teaching your content and using that to teach that skill with intent? And we provide a ton of resources that goes along with that to help, but templates, like you see here, the transferable skills list, which of course is not an all-inclusive list, but a place to start for our educators. And so in a nutshell, that is connecting careers to the core and foundations. And I'll kick it back to you, Roger.
Thanks, Donna. That was great. I really appreciate that. Donna lacks passion. I don't know if any of you noticed that or not. If we could just get her a little more excited, that's great. I love Donna's passion, and I get energized every time I hear her speak. So I do want to bring our guests back, Michelle, Jason, and Lindsay. And if you could share with everyone a little bit about how Foundations is going for you, what has the experience been like? Were there any surprises? What changes and impacts have you seen at your school? Just kind of those things would be great. And Lindsay, I'll start with you this time.
You'd think I'd know how to unmute. There we go. Can you repeat the question, Roger? Sorry about that.
No, just how Foundations is going at your school, what the experience has been like for you and your staff, if there's been any surprises, the impacts you've seen.
No, I would just say, I think the biggest surprise was that, you have people, consultants or specialists or, programs come into your buildings and try to get you to, do what it is that they're passionate about. And in this situation, it was nothing. It was so surprising to have passionate people that are at the table willing to walk alongside to make this come alive for career development in our building. Like, I think that's where GA was, Galesburg Augusta was, we needed somebody from the KRISA level to help us. And so we reached out, we said, we need a career development person to come and walk alongside us. But then they brought in Youth Solutions, and we were all able to get at the table, do the surveys, find where we were, and then identify some actionable items. And we just came up with this awesome program. And at Galesburg Augusta, we call it Workforce Wednesdays. So we have a flex hour or an elective hour or whatever you want to call it, And on Wednesdays, we have a half-hour lessons that all of our core class teachers teach to different grade bands. And we took our Zello platform, which is like our career development software. We took those lessons and made them come alive. Youth Solutions helped make them come alive with us. And our teachers teach those lessons, and we have industry tours, and we have visitors that come to the building that show us different trades. So it's just been amazing. It is something that's sustainable. It's a program that we have, and we're really, really proud of.
Lindsay, did you get any resistance? Were there people like, oh boy, here comes the next new thing you want us to do, and I don't have time for that? Did you run into any of that?
That was me. So I wanted the help, right? But at the same time, like, I'm drowning. I'm a brand new high school principal with no counselor, and I'm like living in this world of like, get above water. But that's where I think I was able to lean on Gretchen and Billy, really, and Jason's team with Jocelyn, and we were able to get to the table, take baby steps, and then really it was just so systematic, which I'm a systems person, so that spoke to me. And we were able to just get our teachers in, and then the process, what they walk you through, I didn't have to do that, right? I didn't have to go plan what we were doing and then present it to my team. I got to come to the meeting and help make things come alive. And that was where the productivity really set off.
That's really great. That question was not planted, everyone, by the way. I had no idea that she was the resistance, but that's great. Jason, how about from your perspective at K-RISA? How are things going, and what has any surprises for you?
Yeah, they're going great, exceeding our expectations, I would say, in working with Youth Solutions. So not surprised, but grateful for the quality. Donna, Gretchen, Billy, Alex, that team. The piece that I think makes them extremely valuable is their understanding of education, their understanding of workforce development. That combination, being kind of multilingual, is just fantastic. When Donna's talking about standards in my KIP, and I'm a classroom teacher, and could be resistant because I got too much crap on my plate and I'm passionate about my content, but you can connect it to my standards and bring meaning to my classroom, then you've really moved the needle and changed paradigms in education. So that would be, the pleasant surprise. I think the desire is, how do we get more? We have 3 out of our 9 districts on board with Youth Solutions. So it's just a matter of letting them see examples like Lindsay's, and you'll hear from Craig tomorrow at Parchment. The beauty of Lindsay at Galesburg High School and Parchment High School is they have all staff involved. It's not the one counselor who's doing career development, right? It's not the RISA that's coming in or ISD, but it's like, how do we get our math teachers? That was the first team at GA High School that we met with, and they weren't resistant, but they wanted to see how it would work. And that's the beauty of the 5-phase system that Gretchen has and Donna's developed, and kind of to Lindsay's point, just walking through that well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jason. We hope to get to
Roger, I'll just add one more thing. Sorry, I hate to be that person, but I think that we're to the point where we're so excited about our program that we actually have teachers now wanting to bring it into their regular classroom course. Well, I want to do a unit around this, and then we're going to go relate it to whatever skill or whatever trade we can do. So that's connecting, and that's our next year plan, is to make sure that everybody has one planned career thing in their core. So people are excited about it.
That's great. That is really awesome to hear. Thanks, Lindsay.
Yep.
Michelle, I know your situation in Livingston. You said earlier you've got a small district, a large district. You had one raise their hand and say, hey, I really want to do this. So can you share a little bit about what the experience has been like there, and what kind of impacts that you've been seeing?
Sure, absolutely. So our smaller district, right, in a smaller district where you have a class size of about 150 students, doesn't always have the resources. So to be able to partner with Youth Solutions was super valuable, and help guide a smaller team, right, which has now created a very different culture at Pinckney High School. And I think that's the biggest impact I can say for our whole county, but it all started really with Youth Solutions at Pinckney, because then they would share with the other counselors, and we have a robust countywide counselor meeting where they share resources and lead counselors come together and meet. And that's really where this information, when we empowered the counselors to then meet with administration to share some of this information, and then administrators are sharing this information at their meetings. I would say the greater impact is now a countywide culture of paying attention to career experiences. We'll relate it back to our plans for students. And in Livingston County, we had a very high going to college rate and a very poor, I'll say in comparison to the percent that were going to college, completing anything. And we attribute it to they don't know why they're going. And we needed to provide them some other direction about why they're going and to make sure they're going to the right places and how to get there. So looking at what Pinckney did in a very small district, and leveraging those resources, and again, those random acts, that is a great analogy, Jason. I'm going to use that too. I'll give you credit. The random acts of career exploration and pockets, right, of opportunities for students, and not all students, and how do we support them? Because we would have students for job shadow day. I don't want to leave class. I can't miss class. My teacher planned a field trip. My teacher planned a science lab. I don't want to have to make it up. And they would sign up for the experiences and then not be able to go because it wasn't a culture supporting environment. And now it's changing. So, instructors in the local districts don't plan high stakes activities, assignments, assessments in those 3 days where we're encouraging students to do job shadows. That's one definite change with data that we've noticed. And our, industry partners have, come to the table and recognize that. So it really has supported a different shift.
That's great. I mean, when you can change the culture, everything else is a lot easier. So, I have all kinds of questions I could keep asking our three experts, but I do want to open it up to the audience if you have any specific questions. And I know Gretchen on our team has been monitoring the chat, but please feel free now if you want to raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, I see Chris has to leave in 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I do. Roger, am I on?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I apologize.
Welcome.
And I'm going to introduce myself very quickly. I own the Michigan Business Network, business-oriented broadcast over the internet, a lot of study, that sort of thing. But I had my first career, and Roger, you may not even know this, was 10 years in education at secondary level. Teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, and then I got lured away into business. It's amazing, and I just want you to know and everybody else how essential educational improvement is to what is the major problem for business right now, and that is a shortage of talent. And this is pretty incredible stuff. And Roger, we may want to talk about this offline, but I chair a thing in Livingston or in Ingham County called T3, which is Teach, Talent, and Thrive. And yesterday we had 2,500 10th graders go through the Lansing Center to 54 different companies who were exhibiting career opportunity. Everybody from Consumers Energy and the Board of Water and Light to University of Michigan Health Sparrow. And it's just incredible. So I don't know if it helps you to kind of connect or work with T3, but as the chair, I certainly would like to sit down and see what we can do for you.
No, I appreciate that. We all the T3, I think a lot of them are called My Career Quest. Yeah, those are awesome. We appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Yep.
And I did not know that you were in education beforehand. I thought you always were just part of the business network. So
well, it's because I don't exude being educated very well. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Anyone else? Any questions or comments? I guess I will ask one before we move on. And maybe a question that a lot of the attendees here are thinking, but don't know or don't want to ask. But we talked about the resistance earlier, Lindsay and Jason and Michelle. I mean, we know that's real, right? I mean, educators have too much on their plate, and then here comes a new initiative. What really helped? What was the galvanizing moment that everyone kind of said, "Hey, this could work. This could actually make my life easier, and I'm buying in." Or was there a moment, or was it just a series of moments?
I can answer. I was waiting for you, Michelle, but I'll go. I would say that we provided time, right? We know that in education, everything gets done if you provide time, or anything can get done that way. So we were very strategic, working with Gretchen and planning out ahead of time when we were going to be doing these sessions, and on half days that we had built in for professional development, or using like department days for our CLC team. And that's how we've been able to maintain it going forward, is just calendarizing everything. And I think that when people feel organized and they're aware with the communication of what's going on, then there's the commitment, and the resistance isn't there. Also, I think that when the PRW, is that what it's called? PWR? What's it called? Which one? One of those two. That when we highlighted our needs or where we were lagging in that, I mean, naturally, as we want to be at the top of our game, right? So what that did was just allow us, because we were the ones that gave feedback to those responses, that we were able to look at our data and say, we've got some work to do. So we know this is important. We can't just say it's not important, because we said it's important, and we were able to move forward. So that's how we got the commitment level.
Cool.
And
Thanks, Lindsay.
And I think Stacy asked a question. I'm reading here, and it says, "I'm working at a small school where it would be me and one other person that would be facilitating this. Would that affect the data and collection?" So we, at our small district, no, we leaned on the support from Youth Solutions, which was fantastic. But we did, you know, give time, right, to the people that were doing this, or a stipend for the extra work, or something that was going to them to support this, this extra thing that they were doing, that then actually became part of their job. It actually was a release period for, it was one of our CT teachers that was leading this at the high school level for Pinckney. And then we had a counselor that was involved, an administrator. But really, truly, that was it was a teacher that had a release period to do this. She was also a work-based learning coordinator. So it fit in her passion, in her wheelhouse. At Howell High School, it's a much larger district, which serves, almost 600 students a graduating class. So very different school districts within our county. And they're doing some of their own collection. And again, being open to get the results, because you think you're pretty good, right? We do all this stuff, right? These random acts, we're pretty good. And then you realize, wow, but we're leaving this whole group of student over here out of the picture. Or, wow, we don't really do anything at this grade level. Or why are we waiting to get to them? And not every student can do that. And all the gaps that become apparent, and how to fill them. It just was really valuable information, and being open to that. But having the right people on the bus is important. You got to want to do it.
Yep. Thanks, Michelle. Jason, anything to add?
Pretty much the same. I would say you have to empower a couple people. There needs to be a passionate person or two on the staff. And I don't want to steal Lindsay's thunder, but the counselor they hired bought into the system. And what she's done is empowered her peers. And there's a couple people on that staff that are leading staff meetings and doing Zello trainings or the industry tours. And they've developed a 9-12 curriculum that every staff member has some skin in the game with. And that's a powerful system when you empower your staff, and then it unfolds to the rest. So would love, every building's different that we've worked with Youth Solutions, but you need, I think 1 or 2 people who are really passionate about career development help.
Great. Thank you. Check the chat real quick. Or Gretchen, are there any other questions that I've missed from the audience?
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, we have 10 minutes left, so that allows me to do a quick flyby of Jobs for Michigan's Graduates. Many of you have probably heard of that, but I'm going to just do a quick one because this is our tier 2 and 3 kind of targeted individual solutions that we offer. This is the program that we started 15 years ago. It is part of the larger National Jobs for America's graduate program. We offer it in many different ways, which I'll touch on. I mentioned it's tier 2 and 3. We actually have talk about evolution and innovation. We continue to do that, continuous improvement, right? And it's actually becoming a tier 1 service, which I'll share a little bit about here in a second. But touch on the core components of it really quickly. It is adult mentorship based. We can do it in school, out of school. As I mentioned, we have several partners around the state. All 16 Michigan Works are involved. We can go direct to schools. We have boys and girls clubs. So there's several different delivery models for this, but it is all adult mentorship, trauma-informed care about barrier removal. I think our JMG youth have an average of 8 barriers. So these are some of the most disadvantaged at-risk students in the state. Instruction is work readiness skills, soft skills. I don't know that I like soft skills. Those of you know me, I struggle with that. I think we need to come up with a phrase that we all agree on, like 21st century skills, essential skills, whatever it may be. But it's really making sure that they graduate for sure, but they have those skills to be successful in whatever their post-secondary pathway is. That's youth-centered, demand-informed, that approach to career exploration. I mentioned aptitudes and interest earlier. Yes, if someone really wants to go on and be a star in the music business or the NFL or whatever it may be, we don't want to squash that. Passion is a great thing, but we also want to talk about, well, what are some realistic backups? Let's talk about what high demand family sustaining wage jobs there are in Michigan going forward and really kind of mirror those up. And then unique too, because there are some other services like what we provide, like with JMG out there, but what is really unique to us is we do that 12-month follow-up after graduation. So we love that to make sure that that actionable plan is being followed and we continue to help them. And I can tell you, after you talk to those mentors we call specialists and you visit with them for a little bit, we say it's 1 year follow-up. In many instances, it's multiple years. The relationship that our specialists and the youth develop during their time together is pretty phenomenal. So next thing I'll touch on is just kind of the key components. I mentioned overcoming those barriers, those core competencies, those essential skills, the employer engagement piece, and just really working towards that long-term sustainable pathway. And I mentioned program delivery. If we could go to the next slide, we have the middle school options, the traditional alternative high school. We have a lot of each. That is elective credit often, and Donna mentioned equity earlier. There's a lot of kids who can't take that elective credit who need this service. There's the out-of-school component, so those who have aged out or dropped out, helping those. But going back to that equity piece, I want to bring up the new innovative pilot that we've got going on at Muskegon High School. It is a tier 1 solution. This is very exciting. They just started it this fall. We continue to work with them, but this is, talk about equity. So this ensures equity because it is all 10th graders now. Every single 10th grader will be receiving elements of Jobs for Michigan's Graduates. It's an advisory period model. And as we know, teachers oftentimes are looking for some structure and some content around advisory period models. We were able to bring that. This provides that equity that we're looking for. And as I mentioned, it's just started this year. And so we're collecting data and working with the staff there at Muskegon High School, but it is off to a very exciting and meaningful start. And as we share this with other schools, this has become very super exciting for a lot of folks that, hey, this advisory period model hole, if you will, that needs to be filled in maybe a little bit more meaningful way, has really caught on. And we've had a lot of schools approach us about, well, does it have to be 10th grade? Well, oh my gosh, no. Could we go to the middle school? Absolutely. We have some talking about elementary now. So we're going to continue to customize and evolve and innovate with you as we go along. And that kind of brings me to my next theme on the next page. How do we become a partner? It truly is a partnership. I heard someone say, Youth Solutions walked alongside. I do want to stress that. I mean, that is a very sincere approach that we take. We don't come in as a consultant, we come in as a partner. Yeah, at some point we'll probably leave and the culture's changed and you have all the tools and everything that you need, but we still consider ourselves more of a partner than just a consultant that kind of comes in and does some stuff. And we do it with you and not to you. And I think that's something that we really want to stress to everyone. So, we would be more than happy if you are interested. And I think I saw someone in the chat already raised their hand, said they were interested in something. So please reach out to us. As I said, all these are customizable services. We can spend 30 minutes with you just on a call, kind of talking about what you're doing, what we'd like to do. Don't think of any of our services as cookie cutters. We can come in and work with you on each of them, and they can all be a little bit different, all a little bit specialized for your school, your district, your ISD, RESA, ESA. So we are actively trying to build what I will call a interest list of schools, and candidly, the more demand that we can show, the more funding that we can secure, both public and private. So if you are interested, please let us know so we can put you on that interest list. Because as a nonprofit, we do want to make this very affordable for schools, if not outright free. That would be our biggest desire and our number one priority. So if you are interested, even remotely, let us know, and we'll put you on the remote interest list. So with that, how to get in touch with us as we wrap up here. So there's our contact information. There's mine, there's Donna's. You can scan that QR code as well. And then I want to thank everyone again for your interest. I know all of you as educators, your lives are incredibly busy. I just want to tell you personally how much I appreciate what you do. I think education is the most important career in the world because all careers come from you, the educators. And so thank you for taking time. Thank you to Jason, Michelle, and Lindsay. Same goes for you. You've already said it, developed a partnership with Youth Solutions. And so to take time to share about your experiences with others who might be interested means a lot. So thank you very much to all of you. And with that, I think we could end a few minutes early. Well, happy holidays, everyone. I don't know where you're at, but we already got like almost 3 feet of snow and another foot coming today. So the holiday season is definitely going on here at my house. So hope you have a great holiday season. And if you are interested, please reach out. And thanks again for your time, everyone.